Right, with that I'll put it round to, I had Keith first, so I'll put it to Keith. Keith can put it to Colin, and then Colin if you could put to Dave, G8FH, when you're finished, and that's the order it should be. So I'll put it round to you, Keith. Very good morning to you. Hope things are okay up in your neck of the wood. And you were about 5 and 8 on the call, and Keith. G3XGW, GU4LJC with the group. 730.
G4LJC with the group, G3XGW. Very good morning, everybody. Bad morning, actually. It's kind of bright, but bright in a grey sort of way, unfortunately. About 18 degrees. We had a fair old hammering last night with a storm. Not much in the way of rain, but lots and lots of thunder and lightning. So about midnight I was going around unplugging things. I don't think it got that close, actually. Anyway, I didn't hear Colin, so I'll pass it over to Colin in a moment if it was Colin. I have a slight inkling it might have been Jan, but I might be wrong. Anyway, everybody's not that strong actually this morning. Brian, you were only about a 7 on that over, and listening earlier on another receiver, I could only just about hear Dave. He came up at once or twice out of the noise, but I wasn't really able to copy much of what you were saying, Dave, if you're still with us. Martin, nice to hear you back, and not sure where you... Oh, I think you were... Somebody said you were in Tokyo at some point, having spotted on one of the web SDRs, so hope you had a good trip. And, you know, I was helping to load the van for the auction on last Friday, and I was involved in moving the R107 out of its storage onto a forklift truck type affair, a telly something or other, that the local farmer had kindly helped us with. And I jokingly said to Tony, "Here's another R107." I said, I know, I'm so happy you're putting in this one. And after the auction he whispered in my ear that the proxy bid was indeed from yourself. So, you know, I think it's time to seek medical help, I think, Martin. I think you need some sort of therapy. I'm getting a bit worried about you. There's no way I could even contemplate having more than one, because the thing already takes up an awful lot of space in my auto. And I'd forgotten just how heavy it was until I had to lift it onto this pallet. So anyway, good luck with that. Obviously you're starting a trend and kicking off a whole new reproduction of R107s. Okay, anyway, let's see if that was Colin. Over to you, G3TSK with the group, G3XGW.
It's a 90% chance of this has gone 3 times. Hang on a minute, I'll just have a look at you now. That's about right. Well, very good morning to everybody. I consider that the top. And I can understand quite what that is. Why that should be there. Hang on a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I'm not doing it better. Because there's a pretend thing there. There's something that's heavily overmodulating there. And it could well be that the battery is 12.1 volts. And perhaps something is happening over there. So I've turned it down now. And I hope that I started from the beginning again. A very good morning to you all. The sun is shining here. Beautiful looking day. And a much better day than yesterday was. It didn't rain yesterday. Torrential rain yesterday. And all the good is very clear it was so heavy the good just couldn't take the body of the R107s. I remember seeing them when I was a young lad. R107s. Remote receiver. They're saw one at the auction, and just like Keith, the size, and I thought, gosh, that's going to be very, very heavy. But I understand they're very, very good receiver. It's a space. And I don't like clutter. And the place I'm in now is quite spacious. It's the sort of version of a loft. One end, working wireless. The other end I have my sort of workbench and desk. I keep the two separated. I don't have enough. I do have enough space, headspace to get an LD300, but it would mean taking down the shelf, so that sort of thing is out. So yes, too big for me, Martin. Too big for me. Too heavy for me. I wouldn't get up the stairs more now to have some sort of winch to pull up the stairs. If I fall backwards with it, my gosh, that would be the end of me. So there we go. But I do understand that I actually see that in a little bit on. Enough for me. I hope that you can see me and the modulations are alright. I'm not too low. And I'm going to have it over the gear now. G8YFH on Belfry Tango. See how it can work. Go ahead, put it over.
Change the battery. G8YFH, go ahead. Audio terrible on that, Colin. I'll give you a report in a minute. G8YFH, you there, Dave? No, looks as though Dave's been called away for caring duties, so I'll take my over. Yes, Colin, your audio's breaking up very distant. It doesn't seem to be splattering. Your signal is 15 over 9. So there you go, but you need to change the battery if that's what's causing it. It's not your normal audio. That's pretty dire, that. But good to hear you on anyway. And yes, okay on the R107 and the proxy bid. Martin, there you go. I had my eyes on one of those RA17s, the one with the desktop cabinet, or indeed the desktop cabinet that came up later. And I was going to ask Tony to put a proxy bid in, but I thought, well, there's absolutely no way, in honesty, I can ask him to drag back an R07 or an RA17 in its desktop case all the way from Baginton and then onto the lunch. Probably just as well if he's carrying your thing as well. So there you go. You must have had a kindly word with him and he must have felt kindly. Well done on that. Good morning to Keith. You're about 10 over with me, Keith. As you say, signal's not as good as they were a month ago. But it's been pretty consistent this week of not so good. And actually today it's been a little bit better with the distant stations, because previous days people like Ray and Andy from the north were going unreadable with me by this time of day, but by the time that Ray signed, and 7-3 to you, Ray, he was still a good strong signal with me. 7-3 to you also, Brian, and Trevor, if you're listening. Yeah, I hadn't marked Trevor out, so apologies for that. And we didn't get any response from the portable station, but Paul, as I say, did call in yesterday on his canal boat. He was on the River Lee in London, and he did say he would try to call in today, so I'm probably the station that will hear him. So leave gaps, G4EQQ portable. If you hear that station, guys, let's acknowledge Paul. And if you did try last time, Paul, well, conditions against us, you weren't too strong yesterday. So let's keep it going round, and it looks as though people have signed, so it must go around to you, Martin. G3YJO, M1PVC.
Yeah, M1PVC, G3YJO with a pause. but no, nothing heard. And a very good morning to you, Colin. Good, strong signal, but as Paul mentioned, modulation not up to your usual standard. It was very distorted, but could work out what you were saying. And very good morning to you, Keith. Actually, a little bit down on signal this morning, so propagation not in our path, but a good strength 8, absolutely Q5, so no problem at all, but not quite your usual rock crushing signal. And Paul, you're still 9 plus, very nice indeed. And yeah, 107s. Well, yes, well, dear me, yes, Keith, I think I need to seek medication on something, but Colin, the R107s up, getting them upstairs here well, it's a bit of a challenge. It's not too bad. Fortunately, I don't have a winch or anything, but I do have the MEMSARB, and she's been very agreeable in helping bring them up. For 2 people, it's quite easy to get it up, but I have done it by myself, but it's step by step, so to speak. But it's a little bit tricky, so I'd rather wait and get a bit of help. I haven't quite owned up to having another one yet, so wait and see if quite so willing to help on this one. Yes, I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with them all. I'm going to, the sort of plan is I'll keep the best one, whichever one that turns out to be, and then let the others go on to good homes where hopefully they will be enjoyed, and when the time comes. But there's still a fair amount of work to do yet, and as I say, it'll be interesting to see how this screen printing works out. So I've been sort of doing some work in odd moments on the long flights on the artwork, which I've got pretty well sorted. Just need to now check it out and then have a chat with the printer, make sure everything's according to plan, and then give it a go. So it'll be interesting to see. Anyway, hopefully it will turn out nicely. Let me see what other comments. I think that's about it. So, oh yes, Lightning. I did have a look on the lightning.org while I was travelling, and yes, it was in China and Japan, Keith. And I saw that there was a colossal amount of activity. And in fact, I read somewhere, I think on one of the news sites, that there have been one night there have been 21,000 strikes in across the UK. So it was obviously pretty active, and I could see that listening to the SDR with the crashes. That's for instance. Right, I'm having a look now to see who's left. So I think it must go on to you, Colin. Oh, I don't know whether Ray's signed. So I'll put it on to you, Colin, but leave a pause, and I notice whether Ray signed. So put it on to you, Colin, but with a pause, and if I've skipped over somebody, they can jump in. G3TSK, G3YJO.
In then.
3 Whiskey X-ray Golf. Calling.
Well, a weak station there. Someone else want to go ahead again?
Yes, 3 Whiskey X-ray Golf. Calling in. Just to say that I've heard every station I've heard so far. OJC, So, Martin and Paul, of course, M1PBC. Right. Very good signal.
I got the first part of you and the second part, but hang on a minute. I'll just confirm whether or not anybody can understand what I'm saying. Paul, is my modulation any better enough, please? Over?
Yes, it's perfect, Colin, but you should really pass it back to Keith, XGW, who hasn't had a proper turn, and then he can pass it on to you, Colin. And Ian in Brighton, really in the noise almost, but just about Q5 from M1PBC. Back to you, Colin. G3TSK, but should really go to Keith.
Right. Keith, then I think a short go to Keith. Keith, you take it, and I'll gather some breath. Go ahead, Keith.
Got there in the end. I'll have to start marketing me magnetic strips, I think. Yeah, very good, very good. G3XGW. And good morning to, is it Brian, I think? Not quite sure if it was Brian. It's my anagrammatic self, G3WXG. And you were only about readability 3, I'm afraid, taking a 7, only very occasionally a 7. So not too strong. We don't seem to have a very good, propagation. Right. Some of the comments. Yes. Your rasping box of tricks it seems to be sorted out now, Colin. I don't know whether you've taken it out completely or just changed the battery or something. But it was back to its old tricks again. So maybe you need to make a power supply for it. One comment I was going to make, actually, Colin, very good morning to you, of course. I don't know that we've spoken, actually, since you were here. Although I think briefly we did, and then you had to rush off. But it was great to see you on Saturday, and I hope the other little problem is making some progress. I tried using your electrostatic meter on my television, Colin, and I'm afraid it wasn't a success. It was obviously a problem because it was drawing sparks as I attached the probe, and it was pulling down the EHT. You could see that by the state of the picture, increasing in size and so on, and defocusing. And I thought, well, that shouldn't happen with an electrostatic meter. So I cheekily had a peek inside, and it's not just an electrostatic movement. There's a whole string of resistors. I'm not quite sure what the configuration is, but I eventually put a DVM on it that I have that will measure very high megohms, and it's only about 70 megohms on the terminals, so that's a little bit too low for this sort of thing. Anyway, it was interesting. It's a lovely thing, isn't it? Beautiful. In fact, the television seems to be behaving itself now. Once I changed the EHC rectifier, I've been switching it on every day because this weekend is the big event of our local open village weekend. So this afternoon I should be starting to transfer large quantities of vintage radios and equipment down to the place I've been kindly provided with to display them all, and that will include the television, which is now looking absolutely superb, and with an application of Bakelite polish and lots of elbow grease. It's a joy to behold. But it's not very bright. I'm hoping it's not going to be too sunny over the weekend, and I can find a shady corner for it. But I've now got the whole system working reasonably well. I decided yesterday I needed to put all these odd bits of circuitry and wires into a box. The modulators and the color mixers and so on, sinks, generators. And I thought I'd better do it a day or two early, because normally when you tidy something up, we all know what happens. But I'm pleased to say it's all worked after all that. So I'll let you know how it all goes. Over to you, Colin. Yes, nice to hear you back, Martin. And yes, I'm sure the R107 addiction will pass. G3TSK, G3XGW.
Yes, Roger, 100% there. And is this the box of tricks? Yeah, hang on a minute. Right. Is that any better, I wonder? I switched the thing out there now. I hope so, because I think it's the switch. That's the problem. It's the switch, and I hope that things are a bit better there now. But I'll keep it short. Yeah, it was lovely to see you. We've had 2 rhubarb tarts. 2 rhubarb tarts. One's in the freezer, and one has been eaten. So there you go there. And okay, 70 megs is still a lot of resistance, isn't it? I'll get my calculator out later on. But I would have thought that's very odd, isn't it? Yes, I did know there were a string of resistors in there. resistance, and everything seems 17 megs is a lot when you think about it. So I don't know what's up there with that television. It must be very, very small amount of current that it's taken to focus and to draw those electrons. Still, I'm glad you've got it going. And with a box of tricks there, I'm sort of steeling myself to do that. I've got the information, I know what to do. I watched you and Johan here, and I took it all in and I rationalized it all out, so I can do it. I'm pretty sure I can do it. But it's just the thought of starting again and maybe dabbling around with my finger is not my sort of style there. But yes, I think I can do it there as a result of what I observed and saw and heard on Sunday. So it was great seeing you. We'll pop in as soon as we can there next time we're in that direction. Now then, just changing things. Martin, a good signal, nice to hear you. Over here, you again there, plus, well, you're down at plus 20 there. Ryan, I just heard a little bit of the 5 and 9. Keith, 5 and 9 plus 5, and lightning. Did I tell you about the time that as a young lad I was in my little shack, wooden shack, and I saw lightning coming over the horizon, and I went to the terminal to undo it. My fingers got about 4 inches, or thereabouts. When it got close, and I was thrown bodily across the track and collided with the rear wall, which wasn't very, very far away. And I sank down onto the floor, and I just looked up and thought, gosh, that was close. So no, I'm not going to do that. And all my wire aerials automatically go down to earth through a relay when the transmit desk gives us energy. It's an automatic stuff down there. Sparking points across everything, and all my metal cores are well earthed, so there you go. I've been in places, you know, on high hills, raging thunderstorms, and towers, massive towers, and never once has there, or just once perhaps, has there been any problems at all, even tripping out the mains. Never ever once, and it all goes down to earthing, of course. So there you go. It can be done. Anyway, enough from me. I'm going to put it across to Dave. I might want a bit of help here with getting Dave there for G at YFH G3TSK. Go ahead, please. Over.
G8 YFH, you there, Dave? M1 PVC calling you in. Looks as though Dave's had to go, Colin, and 70 megs. The calculator out there. You can see that cell for the it was a few microamp only. So 70 meg, yeah, is going to be enough. Going to be much higher than that to do any sensible measuring. Anyway, that's my opinion. I haven't actually calculated it, but I seem to remember I had a Cambridge, well, call it a multi-pos, beautiful unipivot Cambridge one, which was quite sensitive, and I made a high voltage probe, and I had a string of resistors, and I can't remember the actual total resistance, but it was in the hundreds of megohms, not 70 megohm. I'm sure of that, so that doesn't surprise me that that keeled over at that sort of loading. The electrostatic meter, but it can obviously be worked out what it should be. And, well, can't add anything to the R107s, and yes, 10 AVO meters, that's a bit over the top. They're not all the same model, I might add, and it is a collection. And it was more. I actually got it down to about 7, because I took a few to the radio rally and got rid of them to satisfied customers, but I've since collected a few. If I say very cheap, I buy it because having worked in instrumentation repairs on the optical shaft encoders, I'd rather get some enjoyment, believe it or not, of working on those instruments. I'm not particularly good at working on the movement, but I'm getting there. This last one, and had to readjust the bearings and the movement slightly. A lot of people don't know, but Evo movement has got a little plate which is screwed to the pole pieces underneath with a slotted hole. And if you undo the screw and you move that plate, it alters the magnetic flux across pole pieces and therefore alters the sensitivity of the meter. So all you do is you wire it up with another accurate meter in series on the 50 microamp range and adjust them so they both read the same. And well, surprise, surprise, other ranges then set into what they should be, providing all the shunts are okay. And it's only the current shunt that usually get blown out by people being silly with. So yeah, nice things to work on. And I prefer the Bakelite case versions. The modern things, once they got to the Model 8 Mark 5 and higher, they really cheapened the things up with a double FPC connector in the side, which is a real pain if that goes. And yeah, I don't particularly like working on those, but the early ones, I think the best one was a Model 8 Mark 4, Mark 3 or Mark 4. That in my mind, though they were at their pinnacle then of quality. Anyway, little avometers. Back to you, Martin. And Martin, the costs you were quoting for painting there, it cost me more than that to paint them myself, so you're doing very well indeed. G3, YJO, M1PVC.
M1PVC, G3YJO. Yes, well, I think it's quite reasonable. It's you know, I just sort of go in there with a bunch of panels and boxes and things and give it to the guy. Then when I go and collect it, I say, well, how much do I owe you? And he says, oh, I don't know, he looks at it and comes up with a figure, you know, and I pull a face and it goes on from there. But as I say, having done a bit of it, of the sort of spraying and things, you know, if you buy the cans of stuff, I mean, if you do it properly like you do, Paul, then I'm sure it's more economical. But if you get the cans of stuff, by the time you've done proper primers and all the rest of it, you spend that much on the paint. So I don't begrudge him doing it. And also, of course, he does the sandblasting. Very robust. The only thing I was a bit concerned about with the silk printing is that the powder coating, I guess because it's got a sort of resin associated with it somewhere, how well the silk screen bonds onto the powder coated paint. But apparently when I asked him, he said, well, yes, what they do is they then bake it on a bit afterwards in order to make sure that it fuses well. So seems like he knows what he's doing anyway. Surrey somewhere, so it's a little bit of a drive away, not a quite convinced as the paint who's just not exactly down the road, but only about a couple of miles away. But this is a little bit further. But if I load up the wagon with all of these and do it in one go, then it shouldn't be too bad. Anyway, it'd be interesting to see. So I thought I'd give it a go, and then certainly I'm not going to reach the dizzy heights of your Avo collection. I'm going to promise that once I've done the batch of silk screen printing on this, I'm going to settle down, get them all into shape, choose the one or two that I want to keep, and then let the rest move on to good hands. Interestingly, they're very different in that they come in various sort of different, I'm not sure I'd say models, but certainly ages. And I've got one of the very early ones which has engraved little panels on it, which I didn't like at first, but then having sort of been using that for a while. I've got rather attached to it. It looks rather nice compared to the sort of screening. So it's going to be a difficult choice to decide. But anyway, that's a little time off yet because I've still got to finish off all the cosmetics and then get them all aligned up and measured and so on, and then we'll see where we sit. And yeah, on the AVOs, yes, it's I've got a couple here. Like versions and the later ones. Yes, I'm not sure. I suppose the later ones look a bit cleaner, but your comments, Paul. Right, I need to go off to work. Keith, very nice to, and Colin, nice to hear you on. Colin, when you switched in the box or whatever it is, the tricks that you have, it certainly wrecked your modulation. So keep those out for a bit until you work out what's wrong there. Maybe just the new battery needed. And looking quickly around, I think that's about it. I better go off and earn my keep. And I don't know if anybody's had any activity on 60 meters, but I should probably be back in the afternoon. I'll switch on 60 and see if there's anybody on there. Otherwise, see you in the morning. And if the weather's reasonable, I think we'll probably be going off for a breakfast. But I'll be on the pre-net and maybe at the beginning of the VMARS net. So with that, I now haven't got the magnetics Keith, but I do put a tick beside the person to whom I should pass it, but it's a question of whether I keep that up to date. So I have now a tick next to you, Keith, so it's on to you, and I'll be listening before going QRT. So G3X, GW, G3YJR, and good luck with the TV. Well, by the way, congrats on the TV, and good luck with the display. I think that's really fantastic. Over to you, Keith.
Yes, okay, Martin, thank you for that. G3X-GW returning. Well, nice to hear you back anyway. You've been away for quite a while, haven't you? Because I was off for quite a little time. And yeah, 60 meters definitely suffers when you're away, Martin. It's all pretty bad, I'm afraid. Well, last time I put out a few calls, and nothing came back. Okay, and yes, Colin, yes, your box is still playing up. When you had it momentarily switched in there, it was doing its rasping noise. So, a little bit more attention, I think. Yeah, 70 megs at 7 kV, of course, is 100 microamps, so that's a bit too much for the poor old line generator to do. Well, I mean, it does it, of course, but it does drop. So it measured about 3 or 4 kV at that point on the meter, but I could see that the picture had degraded, so the voltage had dropped. Anyway, I guess that's why the pictures were very bright in those days. And I might have to create some sort of a booth for reviewing this thing if it's a really bright day, which it's threatening to be. Actually, amazingly, the weather's supposed to pick up at the weekend, which is normally the other way around, isn't it? So it looks like it's going to be quite a busy time. AVOs, yeah. So I've still got my trusty AVO that I bought from my TV repair work when I was in my teens, which was a big investment in those days, as you can imagine. And it's still going strong. At one point, the glass, I can't remember what happened, whether the glass broke or whether it just came out or something happened to it, and I had to reattach it, take the thing apart, and I think I used epoxy to put it back in a few years ago now. It's never been quite the same since. I've obviously got something in the movement, and it does stick at one point. So I imagine it's a bit of an iron filing or something, which I imagine is quite tricky to get out. I guess it's going to have to be something extremely sticky, like I don't know. You might have the answer, Paul, with your vast experience of AVO 8s. It's a Mark III, but it does get used occasionally. It's too big to leave on the bench all the time because I've got that much room on my bench. But when I need to measure a capacitor leakage, I find that's just about the only thing that I can sensibly use. Because a digital meter just won't do it. And also reforming electrolytics, I put that in series with them. because I can't be watching these digits go up and down, and it just does your head in, really. So analog meters certainly have their places, have their uses. That's about it, really. I'm going to pull the switch, I think, and have some breakfast, but I can see brightness now on the hill, so there must be some sun somewhere. We certainly had the rain yesterday. Like you, Colin, the gutter was struggling to cope at one end. I shall have to get the ladder out and have a look, see what's in there. But it's good for the garden, and the rhubarb's coming on well. I'm glad you enjoyed your rhubarb. It didn't make much of an impression on it, I'm afraid. Anyway, nice to hear you all this morning, and we'll catch you further on. Probably not at the weekend because it's going to be quite a busy time, but I'll give you a full report next week. Over to you, Colin. G3TSK, G3XGW.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. When I saw your rhubarb patch, I immediately thought of Brer Rabbit when he was caught by the fox, and he said, "Don't throw me in there," he said. Gosh, if you threw me in that rhubarb patch, never find my way out there. It's absolutely fantastic. Anyway, thanks very much for that. I think we've still got a bit left, and we'll have to use that. But 2 nice pies came out of it anyway, at the very least. So very good morning to you. 100 microamps. Well, thanks for doing the calculation. That is a wee bit high, isn't it? And it's going to be a wee bit high for my use as well. I might have to build an outboard sort of motor for it, if you know what I mean. Because I'd be looking at very, very high voltage at very, very low current. And I charge we'll get over the problem, I'm quite sure. And regarding the cost of the charging, well, I first, many years ago, I don't know, I sort of simple called free charging, and it told me the cost of this, and I worked out graphs, and I educated the graphs. And it's very, very useful. Very, very useful. So therefore, I don't use an able meter. Not Nebo 8, it's Nebo 7, I think. So a lot of topics there. By the way, you're going to the house. Next time I say, what about preparing the printer, preparing the artwork? I don't quite know what you mean by preparing the artwork. Perhaps we can just run over that next time. So, Paul, I'm going to put it across to you. Thanks for any things again, keeping everybody in order. And nice to meet up with you again, and I'm going down for some breakfast now. I'm on BBC G3TSK now, clear with the same. Bye-bye to you all, and thanks for the comments.
G3TSK, MPVC, where your audio's gone well down now, Colin. You are readable, but with difficulty, as they say. And well, preparing the artwork comprises of using your computer and a graphics program to indeed work out the graphics that are required for the panel. So you're actually on the screen of your computer producing the panel with all of its writing on it, and that file is known as the artwork. Same thing as if you're doing a printed circuit board, and you prepare the mask for the printed circuit on a computer, that indeed is doing the artwork. And I've just looked out the stack of resistors that I've got in this high voltage probe because I knew exactly where it was. And there are 4 resistors in the stack, each of 100 megohms. So it's a 400 megohm, 1% tolerance stack of resistors. So that's what I found was required for measuring TVs without loading them up, Colin. So yeah, 70 is a bit too low, especially for an early set like that. And Mark 7, well, they were used for the power industry, and not a great deal of good for us, really, because the sensitivity is 2 milliamp, 1 milliamp if you push the button in for divide by 2, which only gives you 1,000 ohms per volt, so heavy loading. Yet, of course, a lot of early equipment, when you look up the service manual, you see that the voltage measurements are taken with a Model 7, and that's when they come into their own, because a Model 8 won't load the circuits up anywhere near it. But if you're using 3-legged fuses and the like, forget a Model 7. Nice robust meter, well made, but not really what you need. You need 20,000 ohms per volt, really, as the standard, industry standard. But I'm teaching you to suck eggs there, Colin. And Keith, if you're still listening, to get bits of muck out the pole pieces, what I use is some of the wood toothpicks, the ones that are very flat, as it were, not very thick, not a cocktail stick, but you can use it if you pare it down, but you want a very thin slither of wood, and you just stick a little bit of double-sided tape on that stick, and the double-sided tape is sticky enough to take the bits of muck out. That's after you've used very carefully a camera lens puffer brush or something like that to try and blow it out. Don't be tempted to use compressed air of any high compression, because you'll just wreck the coil springs in the thing, the hair springs. But yeah, something sticky and controllable. So as I say, toothpick with a bit of double-sided tape on is what I use, and it works very well with an eyeglass. Try to locate the muck first, carefully move the thing, you know, and as I said to somebody the other day, cleanliness is everything. Work on a nice large sheet of white paper. Having cleaned off the bench, you don't want any muck anywhere when you're working on that sort of thing. Just think that you're a watch repairer and work like that. 7-3 guys, have a great day, and we'll catch you again tomorrow. M1PVC briefly listening, if not Paul going QRT.
Yeah, bye-bye, Paul. I took all that in as well, because I've got a couple of Avos, but they're working, but I'll write that down and remember it. Much obliged. Bye-bye.
3 Whiskey X-ray Golf going QRT.